few words on the subject of sleep. Tiredness through continual lack of sleep is now a feature of many people's lives, unfortunately. And this can be a source of stress for a lot of people too. We can read a book that says to us, you must get at least 8 hours of sleep every night. Make sure you get 8 hours of sleep. And that can just feel overwhelming for a lot of people because you may not be able to get that sleep for one reason or another. It may be due to someone that you share a room or a bed with that is a noisy sleeper that may snore. Or you may be lucky enough to have a quiet space, but your mind goes crazy and keeps you awake at night. And then we often get into a habit, creating a vicious cycle of drinking perhaps a little bit too much tea and coffee and keeping ourselves boosted with sugary snacks and carbs. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, don't drink coffee, don't drink alcohol at night because it can stop you having a good quality night's sleep. I'm not going to come across all holier than thou, so don't worry. As a yoga teacher, I also like to watch a film of an evening, maybe have a glass of wine. I'm a normal person, okay? So yeah, I'm going to try and keep it real. We're in lockdown and we need to have a few nice things around us, okay? We have to have a few things that we like to do. It's a good idea, if you can, not to eat too much before you go to bed because your digestive system has to work to process the food that you've eaten, and then that can interrupt your sleep a little bit. So that's not the best idea. I'm guilty of having my phone by my bed because I haven't got a clock. And yeah, I do look at the time if I wake up. It is advisable though, if you struggle with sleep, not to have a phone or a tablet near you, particularly if you're charging it. So rather than telling you what we shouldn't do, let's look at it in a more positive light. What can we do to get a better night's sleep? Okay, so we can perhaps think about meditation. Now, meditation is another word that can conjure up all sorts of weird and wonderful ideas, and it can be quite an intimidating thing to think about. Perhaps you conjure up the idea of a monk sitting there in lotus position, still under a tree for hours on end, days even. That's not what I'm talking about. So meditation takes many forms and it can be very simple and it can be very short. So you can be in any position as well. You can be walking, just focusing on your breath, focusing on perhaps the trees around you, watching each step. That would be classed as a moving meditation. You slow your step down and feel each step, notice your breathing and notice your surroundings. Very simple. You can do that when you're out, and it doesn't have to be something that you do for the whole time that you're walking either. So what about stillness meditation? So where I'm sitting now on the floor cross-legged, I could either focus on something in front of me, not the camera ideally, but maybe I've got an Om symbol behind me as well. I could look at that and focus internally on my breath. I prefer though to close my eyes so that my focus is more internal. I'm not distracted by things around me visually. But when I internalize my focus, you might think, all I hear is a lot of head noise. That is completely normal. There's a misconception that we're supposed to switch off our mind and create a blank mind for meditation. This is not realistic. Okay, nobody can switch off their mind. Even the most practiced meditators very rarely have complete silence in their heads. So how do we meditate? So if you were to close your eyes and focus on your breath, you'd have a million thoughts going on. What we need to do is accept these thoughts. So you acknowledge your thoughts. Don't banish them. That's, as I said, pretty impossible. So you might be in a busy street and see lots of people walking past you. You acknowledge them, don't you? You see them, but you don't chat to them. You don't get into a conversation with them. It's a little bit like that with your thoughts. And even that can be difficult. I do appreciate that. Particularly in the middle of the night. So, if you try in the middle of the night to focus on your breath and allow your thoughts to float through, inevitably you get these big ideas coming up and you get flashes of inspiration maybe. So what would you do? I would suggest that you get up and put a small light on, not too bright, write down what's in your mind so that it's on paper, and then you might be able to shelve it. If you still can't get back to sleep, maybe get up and do something meditative. So not meditation, but some activity that is meditative. So you could do a little bit of gentle movement. So you might choose to do breathing out round the back, breathing in, open. So just a little gentle movement. We're not going to do full-on exercise. There may be something else that you enjoy. I was going to say perhaps a musical instrument, but that might not be popular with your household and neighbours in the middle of the night unless you have something that you can plug into headphones. That might calm you down and just get your mind focused on something else. And other things that are common suggestions to help you with sleep are things like having a hot bath, having a chamomile tea. Although having a chamomile tea too close to bedtime can have you up to the bathroom more than you might like. So the other thing that you can do rather than just pure meditation is actual breathing exercises. Breathing exercises are great for giving your mind a little bit more of a focus to kind of think about. So I can give you some of these exercises as we go on, but a standard thing that you can do in the middle of the night is to count your breaths backwards. So you could start maybe at 50, count 50, one breath is in and out, 49, in, out. So counting backwards, you might get so bored that you fall asleep. You could start at 100. It's entirely up to you. Another breath technique, very, very simple, that you may choose to employ is to breathe in and count, say 4, and then breathe out for longer, maybe for 6 or for 8. You don't have to count. You can just breathe in and then breathe out for longer. If you count, it gives your mind a little bit more focus, that's all. You can also try things like breathing in and out through one nostril. Okay, so our left nostril is associated with the calming energy of the moon. So when we breathe in through the left nostril, so you could just bring your fingers onto your right nostril, breathe in and out. If you feel that you're too one-sided doing that, you can close your right nostril with your thumb, breathe in through the left, and then close the left, breathe out through the right. And repeat that, in through the left, out through the right. So the focus is more on releasing and relaxing on that kind of breath. So the other thing we're aiming to do with this type of breathing practice and gentle yoga movements that we can do, like releasing the upper back in this way, is tapping into what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which you may be familiar with. It's the opposite to the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is your flight or fight response. So if someone came into your room now and made you jump, you'd be ready to go, okay? The parasympathetic is that relaxation response, allowing yourself to feel drowsy and ready to go to sleep. So the other, the other thing that we can do, as I said before, is practice not just one or two movements of yoga, gentle movements of yoga, but to do a short sequence before you go to bed to help you relax. I do offer restorative yoga classes, and I can offer you some online if you'd like me to. Some of the things that we would be doing is lying on our backs with our feet up the wall. You might like to try this before bed if you have the space. But for now, I look forward to seeing you very soon.